I was just talking to myself before watching Minder. Yeah, I don't know if anyone out there is listening or can hear me in this room talking. It feels like I'm talking to someone, but I don't know. I was just saying how you could start off to make society a bit better. Turn policing more into pleasing. So instead of police condemning people and arresting people and hurting people and all that, I know some try to make life a bit nicer, but generally it's pretty brutal. You turn all that intimidation and fear and all that stuff into more like policing, where police come to your home just dressed normally, maybe just with a little blue sash, got blue and gold sash or something, and just say, is there anything you need? Can we help you with anything? Like have them like wardens from the government that come and sort of check up on you and see if you're okay and if you need anything, or if you're lonely, maybe can help organise some friends, or if you're financial, not so much for financial, but maybe can just bring a little basket of some nice food and drinks, just to refresh you, so you don't have to feel like you're struggling. And with your duties like making food and stuff, maybe just bring some little parcels of things. But mostly just to check up and just say, are you okay? Can I get you anything? Do you need anything? Make people feel safe in their homes, like they're not just going to get ransacked by the cops or something, or more like just knock on the door and say, "Oh, we're just checking the neighbourhood, just to see if you're okay, and can we do anything to make your life a bit more comfortable, because that'd be a good place to start, just to make people feel a bit better, and then I was sort of going to say how in society we sort of we can't afford things, so a lot of the time these things that we go to, like markets and places like that, can't afford the things, so people go to markets, look around, they go home, and that used to be what we used to look forward to, the bush markets and that. And I'm leaning, sorry. So a lot of the time, these market people go there, do all this work, set everything up, hundreds of things for people to look at, and go home and have to pack it all back up again, which is depressing. It's better to have all the stuff sold, so if people have a bit more cash in the pocket, you get a bit more cash flow, then the currency works. Then you get current going through the community, a bit like electricity or power. It's a sort of sense of power. Money should be used in a good way to create currency in the world, so people can buy and sell goods a bit more easily. When you're working all the time, you're spending all that money on work, and it's all going to bills, and you get nothing done, and you just get home, and there's no reason, and people don't want to work. They'll find reasons to take drugs to get off and get on mental health pensions. And I didn't do that. What happened to me was by accident, but some people probably do it, and so it just degrades society slowly into a swamp and cesspool, really, bleeding out into the community. People committing crime and doing these bad things, and same with like with children. Like also, I was talking about how public schools should all be a safe place for kids, from any sort of sex or sexual sort of stuff. Even like Muslim dress, they could just dress in a gown or a cloak or a coat, and they have a nice, dark hat with even a little lacy veil, or just some dark glasses. This idea of wearing a big burqa, look like some ninja, looks a bit intimidating. Like they could dress up nice and just have like a colourful parasol or something, or walk around with an umbrella, and make that the attraction, not their bodies, because I know that the families don't like their women seen as sex objects or dressed provocatively out in public. So I was sort of saying all those different things I was thinking about, and same with kids, they shouldn't be seen as sex objects. They should be able to walk around comfortably, not dress them up sexually, or just wear normal clothing and just run around like normal kids. But getting ahead of that, there are people that think about sort of fantasies, but it should just be for adolescents, not little kids. Probably kids over 12, I'd say, maybe in like private schools, not public ones, but in private schools where, say, that the parents choose to educate their kids on sex, and they're allowed to perform that stuff at school in sort of scenarios or fantasies, or it's sort of like they're taught the dangers and how and what might happen, instead of just people preying on them and doing those things. They're sort of given the choice: do you want to go to a private school and be included in that kind of education? So probably from 12 and up. I wouldn't do any younger because they're a bit too young. I'm talking about safe sex, STDs, all that sort of stuff. And same with child prostitutes. They should be taught in the brothel by families, by parents. Parents should be the ones making them sexualized, not strangers. So the parents should educate them first, then take them to private schools, or if they want them to work in a brothel, to please sort of those sort of people that have those fantasies, to give the child a choice: do they want to work there or not? Do they like doing that? And pay them and make it a safe place for children, because ultimately children should be able to feel safe and not be harmed. So those couple of little changes in that regard to children would be very beneficial, to not just have people just kidnapping kids and doing what they want to them, and the kids that feel safer and happier and knowing they're in a bit of control of their life, not just, it's their parents' fault, or we're not to blame, we're just kids, what do we know? But give them a bit of encouragement to feel like, I know it's a bad word, groomed, but groomed in a private school where they're watched and monitored and by their teachers in that respect, knowing that that's what's going to happen, not just have it happen by some strange predator teacher that gets in on, you wouldn't do it in a public school. That's all, non-sexual. It's just kids playing together. But so that was just the point I was making. But also getting on past that, growing as a community into a trustworthy environment where you have a relationship with God to the point that, you don't just say, you people don't believe in God, so we're going to kill you or something, Well, then you don't believe in God, do you? Because God's a good spirit, a good soul, it encourages growth and nurturing of life. Life is what God is. God is not killing and death and all that stuff. That's left behind, It's like those evil thoughts come out of your mind, they're left behind. They go away and you move towards God, towards the future. And ultimately space is where God is, up there, when humans are here on the earth. And so so the earth could become like almost a glowing orb, even rebuilding the earth's crust and all the continents, and rebuilding the landmass with all these different things in mind. You could sort of work towards a world where on the outside looks like a glowing orb of golden light, and as you descend down into that, it becomes sort of this paradise, a sort of play sort of world of heaven on earth, where just your dreams and fantasies come true around you, because you've built that relationship with God, that good relationship with the good spirit, and where you trust the community, you trust each other, and you can do what you like because you've earned the right to be a good person, and take care of children and not put them in danger. Because and not just children, adults too. You don't want adults going to jail because they're confused about what the rules are or what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing. It should be clear. If you're going to have children involved in those practices, well, the parents decide first, and they sexualize their kids and take them to private schools where they can do those things safely, and the children can choose. Do they like that? Do they want to be there? You don't just spring it on some kid in a public school and assault them by principle, and then they're, like that poor girl from who won the Australian of the Year, who now spends her life defending herself and feeling bad and sad about herself probably. She could have just been a happy child at school and got on with things, but not every kid wants to be a sexual fantasy. A lot of them just want to have a normal family life and meet a husband and or meet a partner and have their kids and feel happy at home, So And I was seeing other things further on from all that. I didn't want to, like, I was rabbiting on earlier. I wasn't so involved. I'm trying to remember what I was saying. And even with animals, animals now deserve the right to their own homes, really, and families, and they should be able to have their own home where they just have a guardian come and check up on them, make sure they're okay, and make sure they're getting food. And it's a shame we don't have wormwood trees, because that's what dogs like to eat, just a few sticks off a wormwood tree, and that's all they need in their yard is a wormwood and a bit of yard to poo, and they're fine to have a bit of bedding and a nice little home to live in. A bit like a 3-bedroom home, for animals. And we should all have castles by now, the rest of us, probably be living in the sky in floating castles, like one of my songs says, my home is a floating castle floating nowhere, it should just be like drifting off into space, towards the gods, up there. And Superman should be protecting the earth from meteors and that, really not doing much else. Just spending his life, enjoying his life, doing what he likes doing, having a sex life and having kids, and then if the world needs a meteor, he can fly up and knock one out. So it's all a bit mishmashed up. It should have a bit more form, a bit more structure of the world, not just be relying on government just holding back on resources like money, and we're all lying around suffering, talking shit on phones and watching videos and reruns of Minder. It's a good show, but we could be doing a lot of other better things. Like it'd just be good if we had a bit more common sense in the world, rather than just leaving children to the mercy of strangers, and they grow up disillusioned and end up killing people, or committing suicide, or feeling depressed and shattered and betrayed by adults, and don't know who to trust, and end up in psych wards. We don't even need all these things, really. If you have a loving, trusting environment, everyone knows each other, or not everyone knows each other, but everyone knows the rules, knows what they can and can't do, and it should feel more clear. Not just that, but everything. Money, how we should be getting money, spending it, be able to build our own businesses, and we just don't get enough. I got $20 for the next two weeks. I didn't really spend my money on much. It's just a bit of food and bills, and I'm just paying off the battery I bought and a couple other things. It's not much really for a grown man. I mean, we need a bit more incentive to get up in the morning, and if I hadn't gone to heaven, I would really be struggling. Like, really, I'd probably be on drugs and really depressed and really sick and sad on meds, and lying in bed wanting to kill myself. So I really feel for all those people in those positions and situations they still can't get out of. You can rely on God for so much, but unless you're actually becoming one, it's a bit of a fruitless exercise. You'll end up slipping back, probably dying, and it's all been a big waste again, I'll see something else too. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I just think the idea of having monitors rather than police officers, just police to monitor the community, come around, check on you, see if you need some help with anything, or maybe just at home, and if you can't get out, maybe you've hurt both legs, or maybe you're unconscious, or maybe, take some care for people, rather than just thinking you can just do what you want to people, or we can just do what we want, It's more about doing your duty to the world, society, to foster a better world. It should be improving and getting better, not degrading and decaying and falling apart. It could turn into a beautiful orb of golden light where just all our dreams and fantasies come true, and it's all kosher. It's all good. It's all the way it should be. Anyway, I'll leave it there.